This video will make you dangerously secure. Stoic wisdom. Have you ever stopped to think that most of your insecurities stem from trying to control things that are completely out of your control? Imagine waking up tomorrow with such unshakable confidence that nothing, absolutely nothing, could knock you off balance. I'm not talking about arrogance or ignoring life's problems. I'm talking about something much more powerful. A mental fortitude that the ancient Stoics developed over 2,000 years ago that can completely transform the way you face every challenge in your life. In the next few minutes, I'll reveal the secrets that transformed slaves into respected philosophers, emperors into sages, and ordinary people into walking fortresses. And the most impressive thing? These techniques are so powerful that once you master them, you'll become literally unstoppable. But before I continue, I want you to do something important. Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. Because what I'm about to share here could be the game changer you've been waiting for. The invisible traplet. We begin with a story that will completely change your perspective. Marcus Aurelius, Rome's most powerful emperor, woke every morning facing conspiracies, betrayals, wars, and a plague ravaging his empire. Any normal person would have succumbed to the pressure. But Marcus Aurelius had a secret. He had discovered something most people spend their entire lives unaware of. You see, we live in a collective delusion. We believe our security comes from external control, from money in the bank, a stable job, perfect relationships, impeccable appearance. We spend our entire lives chasing these things, believing that when we finally achieve them, we'll be safe. But here's the brutal truth no one wants to admit. All of these things can disappear in the blink of an eye. Your job, it could be gone tomorrow. Your money, an economic crisis could evaporate it. Your relationships, people change, leave, disappoint. Your health, well, we all know how fragile it is. And that's precisely why most people live in a constant state of disguised anxiety. They know, deep down, that they're building sandcastles. They feel like everything could crumble at any moment, but the Stoics discovered something revolutionary. They realized that there's only one thing in the entire universe over which you have absolute control. And when you discover what it is, when you truly understand and apply that knowledge, you become invincible. Not in the physical sense, obviously, but in the only sense that truly matters. The mental Epictetus, who was a slave for much of his life, had a quote that perfectly sums up this discovery. It's not the things themselves that disturb us, but the opinions we have about them. Think about that for a moment. The same event, say losing your job, can completely destroy one person and be the best thing that ever happened to another. The difference isn't in the event, it's in the interpretation. And here's the crucial point that will begin to transform your life right now. You don't control external events, but you do completely control how you interpret and respond to them. This is your impregnable fortress. This is the territory over which you are the absolute sovereign. And when you learn to wield this power, when you master this art, you become dangerously secure. The power you already have now. I want you to imagine the following situation. You're driving and someone cuts you off in traffic, abruptly and dangerously. What's your automatic reaction? Anger, right? You honk, curse, your heart races, your blood pressure rises. And why? Because you believe that person disrespected you, that they're an irresponsible idiot, that the world is full of incompetent drivers. But wait, what if I told you that person is rushing to the hospital because their child was in a serious accident? Suddenly, all your anger disappears, doesn't it? The event was exactly the same. Someone cut you off in traffic. But your interpretation has completely changed, and with it, your entire emotional and physical response. This is the power you have. You are the scriptwriter of your own life. You decide whether each scene is a tragedy or an opportunity. You choose whether each character is a villain or a teacher in disguise. And the amazing thing is that you do this all the time, but unconsciously. The Stoic secret is to make this process conscious and deliberate. Seneca, one of the great Stoic masters, had a fascinating practice. He regularly imagined losing his entire fortune, being exiled, losing his loved ones. Not out of masochism, but out of wisdom. He was training his mind not to depend on anything external for his inner peace. He was building a security that no circumstance can provide. Instance could shake, and it worked. When Nero, the mad emperor, ordered Seneca to commit suicide, witnesses report that he faced death with impressive calm. Not because he didn't value life, but because he had spent years preparing his mind to accept any reality without losing his essence. You might be thinking, okay, but I don't want to prepare to die. I want to live better. And that's exactly what I'm teaching you. When you lose your fear of loss, you finally begin to truly live. When you don't depend on specific outcomes to be happy, you become free to act with courage and authenticity. The dichotomy of control. Now let's come to the most transformative concept in all of Stoic philosophy. The dichotomy of control. It's so simple it seems obvious, but so profound it can take years to truly master. Everything in the universe falls into two categories: things that are under your control and things that aren't. Under your control are only your choices, your judgments, your desires, your aversions, in short, your mental actions. Beyond your control is literally everything else. Your body, your reputation, your wealth, other people's behavior, the weather, the economy, the past, and even the future. Most people spend 90% of their time and energy trying to control things that are beyond their control. They try to force other people to act a certain way. They try to guarantee specific outcomes. They try to change the past through rumination. They try to control the future through worry. It's like trying to fill a leaky bucket. No matter how much effort you put in, it will never be enough. But when you redirect all that energy to the only area where you truly have power, your own choices and responses, something magical happens. You stop wasting energy on impossible battles and start winning the only battles that truly matter, the battles within. Let me give you a practical example that will clarify everything. Imagine you have an important presentation tomorrow. The common approach would be to be anxious about the outcome. What if I stutter? What if they don't like it? What if I get rejected? All this anxiety comes from trying to control something that's beyond your control, the audience's reaction. The Stoic approach is completely different. You focus on what's within your control. Preparing well, getting adequate sleep, arriving on time, speaking clearly and passionately. The outcome? It's not in your hands. You can give the best presentation of your life and still be rejected. Or you can make numerous mistakes and still succeed. The outcome depends on thousands of variables beyond your control. When you truly understand and accept this, something extraordinary happens. Anxiety disappears. Not because you don't care about the outcome, but because you understand that worrying about it is as useful as trying to change the mood with your thoughts. You do your part with excellence and accept any outcome with equanimity. The mental fortness exercise. Now I am going to share with you an exercise the Stoics practiced that can radically transform your mental resilience. It's called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evil. Don't be scared by the name. It's more liberating than it sounds. The idea is simple but powerful. Regularly imagine losing the things you value most. Not in a morbid or pessimistic way, but as a mental workout. Imagine losing your job. How would you react? What would you do? How would you adapt? Imagine an important relationship ending. Imagine your health deteriorating. Imagine failing at a crucial project. Why do this? Because the fear of the unknown is always worse than reality. When you mentally rehearse these situations, two things happen. First, you realize you're stronger than you think, that you could survive and even thrive in even the worst circumstances. Second, you develop contingency plans, which dramatically reduces anxiety. Marcus Aurelius did this every morning. He started his day by reminding himself that he would encounter liars, envious people, arrogant people, and treacherous people, not to become cynical, but to avoid being caught off guard. When you expect the worst from people and they pleasantly surprise you, it's a bonus. When they confirm your expectations, you're prepared. But here's the most important part of this exercise. It's not about becoming pessimistic. It's about becoming imperturbable. It's about building such deep confidence in your ability to handle any situation that nothing can truly shake you. It's about understanding that you've survived 100% of your worst days so far, and you will continue to do so. I'll tell you a secret few understand. True security doesn't come from ensuring that bad things won't happen. That's impossible. True security comes from knowing you can handle anything that comes your way. It's the difference between trying to build ever higher walls around your castle and becoming an invincible warrior who doesn't need walls. Turning obstacles into fuel. One of the most revolutionary principles of Stoicism is the idea that every obstacle is actually an opportunity in disguise. Marcus Aurelius expressed this perfectly when he said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Think about how radically different this is from the common mindset. Most people see obstacles as problems to be avoided or lamented. Stoics see obstacles as the very raw material of growth. It's like the difference between seeing weights at the gym as annoying burdens or as essential tools for building strength. Every time you face a challenge, you have a fundamental choice. You can see yourself as a victim or a student. You can ask, why is this happening to me? Or what is this trying to teach me? The first question weakens you, the second strengthens you. I'll give you a personal example that perfectly illustrates this principle. Imagine someone who loses the job they considered perfect. The normal reaction would be despair, anger, and victimization. But what if this person adopted a Stoic perspective? They might see this as an opportunity to finally start that business they've always dreamed of, or to develop new skills, or to discover what they truly want from life. History is full of examples of people who turned their worst defeats into their greatest victories. Thomas Edison had his laboratory completely destroyed by a fire. His reaction? All our mistakes have been burned. Thank God we can begin again. He was 67 at the time. 3 weeks later, he had invented the phonograph. This isn't toxic positivity or denial of reality. It's recognizing that every situation, no matter how difficult, contains within it the seeds of something better. The slave Epictetus became one of the most influential philosophers in history. The prisoner Nelson Mandela became president. The failed Walt Disney created an empire. The question isn't whether you will face obstacles. You will. The question is whether you will use them as excuses or stepping stones. Whether you will see them as walls or building materials. Whether they will make you bitter or better. The art of radical acceptance. There is a concept in Stoicism called amor fati, love of fate. It's perhaps the highest level of Stoic wisdom, and also the most misunderstood. It doesn't mean passive resignation or fatalism. It means fully embracing reality as it is, while working to improve it where possible. Imagine you're playing a game of cards. You don't control the cards you're dealt, but you do control how you play them. Now you can spend the entire game complaining about your cards, comparing them to others, wishing you had been dealt different ones. Or you can accept the cards you're dealt and play the best hand possible with them. Life works exactly the same way. You didn't choose where you were born. Your genetics, your family, or many of the circumstances that shaped your life. But resenting them is like being angry at gravity, completely pointless and only causes unnecessary suffering. Radical acceptance means saying yes to life as it is, not as you wish it to be. It means stopping mentally fighting reality. It means recognizing that the universe has no obligation to make sense to you or meet your expectations. This may sound depressing, but it's actually incredibly liberating. When you stop wasting energy wishing things were different, you unleash an enormous amount of power to actually change them. It's the ultimate paradox. Total acceptance is the first step to genuine transformation. Nietzsche, who was deeply influenced by the Stoics, had a fascinating mental test. He asked, If you had to live your life exactly as it was, infinitely many times, would you accept it? This is amor fati in its purest form. Not just accepting your fate, but embracing it so completely that you would choose to live it again. Mental minimalism. The Stoics pioneered what we would now call mental minimalism. They understood that just as too much material possessions can overwhelm us, too much mental worry can paralyze us. The solution? Radically simplify what deserves our attention and energy. Think about how many things occupy your mind daily. Worries about what others think of you. Anxiety about future events that may never happen. Resentments about the past that can't be changed. Comparisons with people you don't even know well. Fears over unlikely scenarios. It's like trying to run a marathon carrying 50 backpacks, unnecessary and exhausting. The Stoics propose a radical departure. They suggest you should only worry about two things: your character and your present actions. Everything else is noise. Your reputation? It's in the hands of others. The future? It doesn't exist yet. The past? It's gone. Other people's behavior? Their problem. When you adopt this mental minimalism, something extraordinary happens. You discover you have energy to spare. It's like clearing a computer's hard drive of unnecessary files. Suddenly, everything runs faster and more efficiently. But here's the trick. It requires constant discipline. Your mind will naturally try to worry about 1,000 irrelevant things. It's a habit from millions of years of evolution. Your ancestors survived by being hypervigilant and worried. But what was adaptive on the African savanna is destructive in the modern world. Stoic practice is like a mental diet. Whenever you catch yourself worrying about something beyond your control, gently redirect your attention to what you can control. It's simple but not easy. It requires constant practice. But the results are transformative. The courage of vulnerability. It may seem contradictory to speak of vulnerability in the context of Stoic strength, but true Stoics understood something that modern culture often misses. True strength comes from fully embracing your humanity, including your weaknesses. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world in his time, regularly wrote about his own flaws, fears, and weaknesses in his meditations. He wasn't belittling himself. He was being radically honest with himself. Because you can only improve what you have the courage to face. False security comes from pretending you're invulnerable. True security comes from knowing you're vulnerable and being at peace with it. It's the difference between wearing heavy armor that limits your movements and developing the agility to roll with life's punches. See, when you try to appear perfect, you live in constant fear of being discovered. When you accept your imperfections, there's nothing to discover. You become immune to emotional blackmail, manipulation, and shame. How can they shame you for what you've already fully accepted? Seneca was a master at this. He openly admitted his fears, his temptations, his struggles, but not as a way to excuse or justify himself, as a way to transcend. He knew that the first step to overcoming any weakness is to admit it exists. This doesn't mean defining yourself by your weaknesses or using them as excuses. It means recognizing them as part of the human experience and consciously working to improve, without the impossible pressure of perfection. The eternal present one of the most profound insights of Stoicism is that the only moment that truly exists is the present. The past is memory, the future is imagination. The only tangible reality is now. And yet, how many of us truly live in the present? We spend most of our mental time in the past or the future. We relive old conversations, imagine future scenarios, regret what we've done, worry about what we'll do. Meanwhile, real life, the only life we truly have, is happening right now and we're missing out. The Stoics developed a keen awareness of the present. They understood that each moment is complete in itself. You don't need anything from the past or the future to be complete now. Everything you need to be wise, courageous, and just is available in this very moment. This doesn't mean ignoring planning or learning from the past. It means not living in those mental moments. You plan for the future in the present. You learn from the past in the present. But you always return to the only place where life truly happens, here and now. Marcus Aurelius had a powerful practice. He regularly reminded himself that this moment could be his last, not in a morbid way, but as a way to fully appreciate the present. How would you treat people if you knew this could be the last time you saw them? How would you experience this moment if it were your last? Death for the Stoics was not a taboo subject, but a teacher. The awareness of mortality doesn't diminish life, it intensifies it. When you truly accept that your time is limited, you stop wasting it on trivialities. Each moment becomes precious, not despite its ephemeral nature, but precisely because of it. The discipline of perception, objective reality, and our perception of it are two completely different things. The Stoics understood this profoundly and developed what they called the discipline of perception, the art of seeing things as they truly are, not as our emotions and prejudices paint them. When someone sees you insult, what really happened? Objectively, sound waves left a person's mouth and reached their ears. That's all. The insult, the offense, the pain, all of this is compounded by your interpretation. You are the director who decides whether this scene is a tragedy or a comedy. This isn't moral relativism or a denial of reality. It's recognizing that there's a layer of interpretation between us and pure events. And this layer of interpretation is completely within our control. We choose the stories we tell about what happens to us. Epictetus gave a brilliant example. If someone calls you stupid, you have two options. You can be offended, which means you're letting someone else control your emotional state. Or you can think, that person is wrong, I know I'm not stupid. Or maybe I acted foolishly, I'll reflect on that. In either case, you maintain control. The discipline of perception is like cleaning the glasses through which you see the world. Most people spend their lives looking through lenses clouded by fears, traumas, expectations, and prejudices. Stoics constantly clean these lenses, trying to see reality as clearly as possible. This requires constantly questioning your first impressions. When something irritates you, ask, is it the situation that's irritating or my interpretation of it? When you feel fear, ask, am I responding to a real danger or a story I'm telling myself? The fortress of simplicity, in a world that constantly tells us we need more money, more status, more achievements, the Stoics offer a radical perspective. You already have everything you need to be whole. The relentless pursuit of more is a prison disguised as freedom. Think about it. Everything you believe you need to be happy is a vulnerability. If you need a fancy car to feel good, you've given the world the power to make you unhappy simply by scratching your car. If you need constant approval, you've become a slave to the opinions of others. The Stoics practiced what they called voluntary poverty, periods of deliberately living with the bare minimum, not out of masochism, but out of freedom. When you discover that you can be happy with little, you become immune to the blackmail of the material world. Seneca, despite being extremely wealthy, regularly slept on the floor, ate only bread and water, and wore his simplest clothes. Why? To prove to himself that his happiness did not depend on his possessions. It was a constant reminder that everything could be taken from him, except his choice of how to respond. This doesn't mean you should reject all comfort or ambition. It means not depending on these things for your inner peace. Appreciate what you have, work for what you want, but always remain aware that your true wealth lies in your mind, not in your bank account. Stoic simplicity is strategic. The less you need, the more powerful you become. The fewer pressure points you offer the world, the freer you are to live according to your values. It's the difference between being a large, slow target and being nimble and impossible to hit. The power of the philosophical routine. The Stoics understood that wisdom isn't something you acquire once and possess forever. It's a daily practice like physical hygiene. Just as you don't brush your teeth once in your life and expect them to stay clean forever, you can't read philosophy once and expect to remain wise. Marcus Aurelius, even as an emperor with enormous responsibilities, found time every morning and evening for his philosophical practices. In the morning, he mentally prepared himself for the day, reminding himself of Stoic principles. In the evening, he reviewed the day, learning from his mistakes and celebrating his moral victories. This philosophical routine is like a mental operating system that you install and constantly update. Without it, you revert to automatic thought patterns, often anxious, reactive, and counterproductive. With it, you maintain a heightened perspective even in the most challenging situations. The practice can be simple. 5 minutes in the morning reflecting on what is within your control today. 5 minutes in the evening evaluating how you responded to the day's challenges. A midday reminder to check if you are living according to your values. Small practices, monumental results. The key is consistency, not intensity. It is better to practice 5 minutes every day than 2 hours once a month. Stoic transformation does not happen in moments of dramatic epiphany, but in the patient accumulation of small daily victories over oneself. Community as a mirror. While Stoicism emphasizes self-sufficiency, it also recognizes that we are fundamentally social beings. Marcus Aurelius said, "What does not benefit the hive, it doesn't benefit the bee." We exist in relation to others, and our virtue only has real meaning when expressed in the world. The Stoics saw every human interaction as an opportunity to practice philosophy. Every difficult person is a teacher in disguise. Every conflict is a chance to practice patience and understanding. Every injustice is an opportunity to demonstrate courage and justice. This completely transforms your relationships with others. Instead of seeing difficult people as obstacles to your peace, you see them as exercise equipment for your moral strength. That annoying colleague, they're helping you develop patience. That critical relative, they're teaching you not to depend on external approval. But here's the deeper insight. The Stoics understood that everyone is doing the best they can with the level of wisdom they possess. When someone acts badly, it's not out of pure malice, but out of ignorance. They simply don't know better. This doesn't excuse bad behavior, but transforms anger into compassion. Imagine how your relationships would change if you truly believed that everyone was fighting their own invisible battles. If you saw each person as a version of yourself in different circumstances, if you treated every interaction as an opportunity to elevate not only yourself, but others as well, freedom through discipline, it may seem paradoxical, but the Stoics discovered that true freedom comes through discipline, not in spite of it. When you lack discipline over your desires, you become a slave to them. When you lack control over your emotions, they control you. Discipline is the price of freedom. Think of a virtuoso musician. He has the freedom to express any emotion through his instrument, to improvise, to create. But this freedom only exists because he spent years in rigorous discipline, practicing scales, studying theory, developing technique. Discipline created freedom. The same goes for life. When you have discipline over your thoughts, you are free from the spirals of anxiety. When you have discipline over your desires, you are free from the tyranny of consumerism. When you have discipline over your reactions, you are free to choose your responses. The Stoics practiced various forms of discipline. Discipline of desire, wanting only what is within your control. Discipline of action, always acting in accordance with virtue. Discipline of assent, not automatically accepting your first impressions. This discipline is not repression or denial. It is mastery. It is the difference between being carried by the current and navigating consciously, between reacting automatically and responding deliberately, between being a victim of your circumstances and being the author of your life. The paradox of strength. True. Stoic strength contains a fascinating paradox. It comes from accepting weakness, not denying it. The strongest Stoics were those who fully recognized their human limitations and worked within them, not those who pretended to be superhuman. Seneca wrote openly about his struggle with anger. Marcus Aurelius admitted his tendency to laziness. Epictetus acknowledged the limitations imposed by his physical condition. He was lame. None of them used these weaknesses as excuses, but neither did they deny them. This is profoundly liberating. When you accept that you are human, that you will fail, that has limitations. You stop wasting energy pretending to be perfect. You can use that energy to truly improve. It's the difference between spending all your money on appearances and investing it in real growth. Stoic strength isn't rigidity, it's flexibility. Like bamboo that bends with the wind but doesn't break. Like water that adapts to any container but maintains its essential nature. It's a strength that comes from adaptability, not brute resistance. This kind of strength is sustainable. Strength based on denial and repression eventually breaks, often spectacularly. Strength based on acceptance and conscious work only grows over time. It's the difference between a house of cards and a mountain. One seems impressive, but falls with a breath. The other stands for millennia, the wisdom of silence. The Stoics deeply valued the power of silence. Not the silence of timidity or fear, but the silence of wisdom. They understood that talking too much is a form of weakness. It reveals insecurity, wastes energy, and often creates unnecessary problems. Epictetus had a rule, simple: speak only when your words are better than silence. Think about how much drama, conflict, and misunderstanding could be avoided if everyone followed this rule. How many times have you said something in the heat of the moment and regretted it later? Stoic silence is strategic. When you speak less, your words carry more weight. When you don't react immediately, you have time to express yourself. Cultivate wise responses instead of emotional reactions. When you don't reveal all your thoughts, you maintain a strategic advantage. But the most important silence is the inner one. Most of us have an internal commentator that never stops, judging, comparing, complaining, fantasizing. This constant mental noise is exhausting and unproductive. The Stoics cultivated periods of mental silence, where they simply observed without commenting. This inner silence is where true wisdom emerges. It's in the space between thoughts that the best ideas emerge. It's in silence that you hear your deepest intuition. It's when you stop talking externally and internally that you finally begin to listen, turning knowledge into wisdom. There is a crucial difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is accumulated information. Wisdom is information transformed into effective action. You can read all the philosophy books in the world, but if it doesn't change how you live, you only have knowledge, not wisdom. The Stoics were obsessed with practical application. For them, philosophy was not an abstract intellectual exercise, but a guide to better living. Every principle should be tested in the laboratory of real life. Every idea should produce tangible results. This requires courage. It's easy to intellectually agree that you shouldn't care about other people's opinions. It's difficult to actually act that way when facing real criticism. It's easy to say you accept death. It's difficult to maintain that acceptance when facing a serious illness. But it's precisely in this difficulty that transformation occurs. Each time you choose to respond stoically to a real challenge, you are literally rewiring your brain. You are creating new neural patterns. You are transforming philosophy into physiology. The process is gradual and cumulative. You don't become wise overnight. You become wise through thousands of small choices, each one moving you millimeter by millimeter in the right direction. It's like sculpting a statue. Each stroke of the chisel seems insignificant, but the accumulation creates a masterpiece, the inner revolution. What I'm about to say may be the most important thing in this video. The only revolution that truly matters is the inner one. You can change jobs, cities, or relationships, but if you don't change your mindset, you'll carry the same problems with you wherever you go. The Stoics understood that the external world is merely a reflection of the internal world. If you're constantly encountering drama and conflict, the problem isn't the world, it's how you're interacting with it. If you're constantly anxious and dissatisfied, the problem isn't your circumstances, it's your perspective. This is simultaneously the best and worst news possible. The worst, because it means you can't blame anyone but yourself for your unhappiness. The best, because it means you have all the power necessary to change your situation. The inner revolution begins with a simple but profound decision. to take full responsibility for your life experience. Not for external events, you don't control those. But for your responses, interpretations, and choices, those are entirely yours. When you make this shift, when you truly internalize it, everything changes. You stop being a victim and become a protagonist. You stop waiting for the world to change and start changing your relationship with it. You stop asking for permission and start exercising your inherent power. The legacy that matters. The Stoics had a unique view of legacy. For them, the only legacy that truly matters is not what you accumulate or achieve, but who you become. It's not about the external monuments you build, but the internal character you develop. Marcus Aurelius ruled the greatest empire in the world. But what survived were not his military conquests or political reforms. It was his personal, philosophical reflections. Epictetus was a lame slave, but his ideas influenced emperors. Seneca lost his entire fortune and life, but his letters still transform lives 2,000 years later. This completely changes how you approach life. Instead of worrying about how much you'll accumulate, you worry about how much you'll evolve. Instead of trying to impress others, you try to become someone genuinely admirable. Instead of building an external empire, you build an internal empire. Your true legacy is not what you leave to the world, but what you leave in the world. It's every person you treated with kindness. It's every courageous decision that inspired others. It's every moment you chose virtue over expediency. And here's the final secret. This kind of legacy is indestructible. Fortunes can be lost, reputations can be destroyed, achievements can be forgotten. But the impact of a virtuous character echoes through generations in ways you can never forget. Review or control. The never-ending journey. Stoicism is not a destination, it is a journey. There is no point where you graduate from Stoicism and can relax. Each day brings new challenges, new opportunities to practice, new chances to grow. Mastery is a horizon that recedes as you approach it. This may seem daunting, but it is actually liberating. It means you never have to be perfect. You just have to be a little better today than you were yesterday. You don't have to climb the entire mountain at once. You just have to take the next step. The Stoic masters themselves admitted their ongoing struggles. Marcus Aurelius, writing late in his life, was still remembering basic principles. Seneca, after decades of practice, still struggled with his anger. They weren't perfect saints. They were constantly evolving humans. This makes Stoicism accessible to everyone. You don't need special talent, formal education, or privileged circumstances. You just need the willingness to examine your thoughts, question your reactions, and choose wiser responses. Anyone can do this, starting now. The Stoic journey is like climbing a spiral staircase. You go through the same themes: control, acceptance, virtue, discipline, but each time at a deeper level. What you understand intellectually in the first year, you feel emotionally in the second, and automatically embody in the third. Conclusion: your fundamental choice. We have reached the crucial moment. You have just been given an arsenal of mental tools that emperors used to rule empires. Slaves used to find freedom, and ordinary people used to live extraordinary lives. The question now is not whether these tools work. 2,000 years of evidence proves they do. The question is whether you will use them. See, I can give you all the knowledge in the world, but I cannot give you the courage to apply it. I can show you the path, but I cannot walk it for you. I can offer you the key, but you must turn the lock. The choice before you is simple yet profound. Will you continue living reactively, at the mercy of external circumstances and uncontrolled emotions? Or will you take control of the only thing you can truly control, your mind, and become the conscious author of your life? I know the second option is scary. It's easier to blame the world, circumstances, others. It's more comfortable to remain in the familiar prison than to venture into the unknown freedom. But I also know you haven't watched this far by accident. Something in you is ready for this transformation. Start small. Choose a principle that resonates with you and practice it tomorrow. When someone irritates you, remind yourself that irritation is your choice. When anxiety arises, ask yourself what is truly within your control. When fear arises, question whether it is responding to a real or imagined danger. Every small victory will build your confidence. Every successful application will strengthen your conviction. And before you know it, you will no longer be practicing Stoicism. You will be Stoic. Not as a pose or an identity, but as a natural way of being in the world. Remember, you've already survived 100% of your worst days. You already have all the strength you need within you. You're already more resilient than you realize. Stoicism won't give you something you don't have. It will reveal what's always been there. The dangerous security I spoke of at the beginning isn't arrogance or indifference. It's the serene confidence of someone who knows that no matter what happens externally, internally you remain inviolable. It's the peace of someone who has stopped fighting impossible battles and focused on the only battle they can win, the battle for control of their own mind. This is your turning point. This is the point where your life can take a completely new direction. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when the circumstances are perfect. Now, this very moment, with the next choice you make, the world needs dangerously secure people. It needs people who can't be bought, intimidated, or corrupted. It needs people who remain calm when everyone else is panicking. It needs people who choose virtue when convenience would be easier. It needs you operating at your full potential. So here's my final challenge. Prove to yourself that you are capable of this transformation. Not for me, not to impress others, but to honor the extraordinary potential that lies within you. Start today. Start now. Start with the next decision you make. And if this content resonated with you, if you felt something shift while watching, then you have a responsibility. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. Subscribe to the channel to continue this journey of transformation. Leave a comment and share it. Which principle will you apply first? But more important than all of this, live what you've learned. Because in the end, the only light that truly matters is the one you give yourself when you look in the mirror. The only inscription that counts is the one you make in your commitment to your own growth. The only algorithm you need to master is your own minds. You're about to become dangerously confident. Not because the world will become easier, but because you will become stronger. Not because problems will disappear, but because you will learn to transform them into fuel. Not because you will have all the answers, but because you will ask the right questions. Stoic philosophy has waited 2,000 years for this moment, the moment you decided not just to know it, but to live it. The masters of the past, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, passed the baton to you. The question isn't whether you are worthy of it. The question is whether you will prove it to yourself. Your Stoic journey begins with the next thought you choose to think, with the next emotion you decide not to blindly obey, with the next difficult situation you choose to see as an opportunity. Small moments, big transformations. Welcome to the most important revolution of your life, the inner revolution. Welcome to the path of unshakable security. Welcome to Stoicism. But most importantly, welcome to the best version of yourself. The video is ending, but your transformation is just beginning. What you do in the next 5 minutes, the next 5 hours, the next 5 days will determine whether this was just entertainment or the beginning of a new life. The choice, as always, is completely yours. And remember, in a world of fragile, anxious, and reactive people, your Stoic security is not just a gift to yourself. It is a beacon of hope for everyone around you. When you become unshakably secure, you give others permission to do the same. This is your time. This is your moment. This is your choice. Be dangerously secure. Be stoically wise. Be unstoppably you. The world is waiting.